Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4. We're going to be talking about water conservation and river revitalization in this episode. And we have Naveen, who's going to talk to us about his experience in this domain. And a little introduction about Naveen. Naveen is a recent graduate in Masters of Architecture with a concentration in building performance from UIUC. His interest in his profession has a direct correlation to the environment and sustainability. And during his school days, he learned a little bit more about climate change and the need to respond to that. He believes that we're all collectively responsible towards our planet, and his introduction to working in the climate space and for the environment started with the river revitalization projects. So we're excited to hear more about it from you, Naveen. Go for it.
Thank you, Aditi, for the introduction. Uh, I think this journey first began during my school days when climate change was, alarming. And then that's the first time when you hear about climate change. At that time, I was so hyper, as if it's real, it's happening now, and we all need to react. I was like very enthusiastic and active about it, but so people did not respond to it. So maybe I think there was some cause deep within me that was burning, saying that, this is important. And when I look deep within, like what could be the other reason? Like, because when I started supporting for Rally for Rivers, it was very effortless. So when I dig deep within myself and saw what was the reason, I come from a farming background where my father is a farmer. And during my early childhood, like maybe I was 1 or 3, during that period, we we did not have a lot of water to harvest the crop. So my father had like went through 10 to 20 borewell failures. So I remember someone saying me my father was sitting on the farm like having no hope of farming any further. So that was the situation. I think we had like around 10 to 15 borewell failures, like around 10 to 20 maybe,
What does
I'm not
that
sure.
mean? Like they dry up, right?
No, it means like, you have this machine coming up to dig the hole, and then there's no water. And so the
Oh,
groundwater level is so low. So that failed. So that was the reason. So the groundwater was not there. So luckily we had some other farm, which had abundant water. So we made a pipeline from there, and that was a high risk project during that time to get water from all the way from other farm and farm this. So I think that very much resonated with me. So I think that's why I started working for Rally for Rivers. Isha Foundation launched this movement on September 3rd, 2017, and the plan was to go around all the cities, major cities in India. It was to raise awareness that our rivers are depleting. So from 1983 to 2015, if you look at the maps of the rivers, like there is at least 30 to 50% depletion in the water resources from what it was to what it is. It is purely because of the way agricultural practices have changed and the development. I think India went through a lot of turmoil during British period, and then coming back, people, like that was the stage of famine, right? When we did not have proper food to eat. And then I think 1980s was one where the green revolution was taking place, and people started like shifting towards a lot of agriculture practices. The forest cover has reduced, and this ultimately lead to rivers going drying. Rivers were drying up. Think Atiti will share the link about Rally for Rivers and more information on that while I give you some brief introduction and say what the movement is. Isha Foundation with other organizations have strategized a plan and has made a policy book. Uh, and this policy book was presented to the government of 28 states and union territories, including the central government. So for any policy to come into action very quickly, it needs people's support. And so through this moment, you can give a missed call, and your missed call will be recorded. So they had support of 162 million people. So I think it was very successful in that terms. Then the bill was passed, because it had huge public support. And why we needed huge public support at that point is because governments keep changing every 5 years. If you propose a bill, by the time it reaches, by the time they come up with a plan of action, it's too late already. So I think that was the reason that people had to respond immediately, and the governments have to respond uh, at a faster pace, and that was very successful. And I think in the recent times, let me just pull out that article and put it for you. Uh,
So what was the action proposed in the bill?
Uh, okay, I think the forest cover is completely reduced
Okay.
because of that. When it rains, right, the rainwater doesn't reach the rivers, or it is either run off too quickly, and it is not stored in the soil for enough time for that to flow as a river. So that was the problem. So the one of the proposal that they gave was to have plantation on either sides of rivers. That's,
Okay.
you're having 50 meters on either sides. If it's a government land, that will be taken care by government in form of forest. If it's a private land and they have agriculture practice, they will be given enough support to to make it a agroforestry. So in that way, whenever it rains, right, because rain is the main source of water. Whenever it rains, because the soil with the plantation will have enough organic content, it will let the water be within the soil and then slowly channelize towards the rivers. So on a long run, if you look at it, you are actually making a way for the rivers through plantation. So
Right.
that was one of the proposed plan, and it has very detailed thing that I didn't know how to read also. So uh, that was a basic proposal that they had. Like, if it's a private property, if it's a government property, how can it be supported in both ways? And that's one thing. And I think it has got youth support now. Uh, yeah. So I think this is some of the maps of different rivers and how the depletion rate. If you can go down, there is a, like, if you change the river name, you see the percentage of water depletion, and you see the maps of how rivers have been depleting. And it was not just through the scientific research, but if I just go and ask my grandmother who is visiting the river, and she would have easily, like, just by her eyesight, she would have said, like, this, it's
Yeah.
gone now. So,
Yeah. In the right picture, I can't even make out
yeah,
what the river is.
you can actually slide that from left to right. And yeah,
Oh,
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse after this.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's so heartbreaking to see.
yeah. And I think if you, like, in any architecture school, the first thing they start is any civilization that has started was next to a river. So I think rivers are our lifeline. Like, without rivers, we can't survive on a long run. So I think it was very important. And this movement was
Mhm.
a very large movement in itself, because I think back in old days, there were Chipko movement and other popular or successful movements that brought a lot of attention in terms of environment. But I think because now we add a lot of technology and resources to reach out to a lot of people that can create awareness, this movement has actually reached a huge number of people. And because people also could not, like, cannot invest themselves into all this, I think governments are elected and their responsibility is to fulfill some of the needs for the people. I think this is one way where we can uh, ask our governments to do what is necessary.
This is
Yeah.
a
So
little
Uh,
unrelated, but I was reading just last week about this. Um, Here we're looking at how rivers are depleting, right, compared to
mhm,
the past. I think
mhm,
Venezuela was is one of the first countries to lose its glacier. I read this
Mhm.
article, and it shows the glacier in the past versus how small it has become now, and the way they classify an ice.
I see.
Ice is a glacier, I think, is dependent on the area that it covers. So when it falls short of that threshold, then it loses its name as a glacier and becomes called an ice mass or something along those lines. which was also very, very sad to see. Yeah.
It's so sad. And Aditi, did you read if like there's any way to like bring it
Ri-
back?
That's a very good
Like,
question. Yeah.
mm,
I didn't read anything around that. I didn't find anything around that. I wonder how they would
mm,
though. It would have,
yeah,
Doesn't seem possible.
yeah, because it
That's
has,
not
like
possible.
unless like some kind of like cloud seeding or like some kind of like artificial way to
and then
do
you'll
it.
also
Yeah,
have
I
to
don't think
provide the temperature, like the cooling
that's
required,
right.
the other atmospheric parameters to actually let it stay that way, right? So
Exactly. Yeah,
that would itself probably be
so
energy
sad.
intensive. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to do it, but yeah.
And
Yeah.
about
There was one thing that tried in, uh, I think in northern part of India, where
Mhm.
Sonam Wanchuk is. I mean,
Oh,
that's a very small solution, but the ice stupa thing.
yeah,
uh,
Yeah.
So maybe that could be one of the possibilities, but I don't
Ah.
think because it's a glacier. Here the situation was different. They
mm.
needed water for
Mm-hmm.
farming during summers, so they stored in form of ice stupas, and those stupas would melt to give water in summer.
Oh,
Nice.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
that's a
I
very
think
nice low solution actually.
Yeah.
the best thing we can do
Mm-hmm.
is just try and keep the temperature whatever it is right now, so that
Yeah,
no further melting happens. Whatever has happened is like
Mm-hmm.
damage which can't be reversed. But I
but the
had a
poles
question
have
about
already reached +5 degrees. Like our aim is to be below 2, right? 2
Two. Yeah.
degrees. And 2 is like the upper limit, 1.5 ideally we need to be below, um as compared to like pre-industrial era. Um and but climate change is more intense at the poles. So the poles have already reached about 5-degree increase. So
Yeah.
that's alarming.
Hey,
Yeah,
Naveen, I had a question about the this river thing. So,
yeah.
do you know if any Indian public banks were involved for like
Mm.
climate insurance or getting the money to sort of invest in these vegetation
Hmm.
areas?
Mm,
Any tax
no,
credit?
I'm not aware of it, but for this Rally for Rivers was purely awareness program.
Okay. Hmm.
So I'll be talking about the plan of action that's Kaveri Calling, which is happening. So
Okay.
this was one of the image that I was trying to explain uh, a while ago, like how rainwater is collected if there is uh,
Mm.
trees, so that the water percolates through the uh, roots and stays in the soil, and which is converted into lakes. And there is another picture below where due to deforestation how the water is run off to the rivers, and it's actually not stored. So I think this is the difference,
Mm.
just adding vegetation to the to any land that could actually uh, once I think the soil as organic content, it can hold water. Once the soil loses the organic content, it becomes sand, so it can't hold the water.
Right. Okay, got it.
So, like in this way, Rally for Rivers was successful in terms of reaching people, creating awareness, and the next movement, and also like you must have seen an article that I just posted a while ago in the link. So, government has allocated funds to revitalize 13 rivers. Minister of Jal Shakti, uh, I think there's a news article. Minister of Jal Shakti wrote back to Isha Foundation that it was done based on their policy book. So the rivers will be revitalized based on that policy. And they also uh, invested like some 19,000 crores for that to revitalize all these rivers. I think that's a major step in terms of environmental action plan. So that's for Rally for Rivers. Moving on to Kaveri Calling. Kaveri Calling was a plan of action movement. So part of Kaveri Calling was to uh, we were just looking at the Kaveri basin, and Kaveri has depleted 38 percentage. So part of Kaveri Calling is to plant 2.42 billion 42 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 billi around the banks of river Kaveri. So it is to enable 5 million farmers and support them both in terms of agriculture practice and also improve their financial situation through agroforestry. And this project is aimed at like 12 years, and this was started in 2019. So by 2031, they are aiming to plant 2.42 billion saplings, although they are not at that pace today. But I think it has the moment of good progress so far. They also add like Nadi Viras. So Nadi Viras are volunteers who like spent 1 year training for this, and now they have gone to different regions. Like some have gone to parts of Tamil Nadu, some have gone to parts of Karnataka, and they have one more project in Maharashtra because there was a lot of farmer suicide rate in Yavatmal. So these are the three spots that they're working on. So first step is to educate farmers that how they can move from normal agricultural practices to agroforestry. And also this agroforestry is like because today we have a lot of furniture and everything coming from the forest, and most of the forest products, because forest have to be preserved, so this is all coming as a illegal product, like our bench, chair, everything that we use. So they wanted to make that, every product that is forest based will be like farm based product. So, in this way, farmer is also benefited. And now both governments agreed to give incentives to the farmer because is not going to make the same level of crops for the, sorry, same level of profits, at least for the first 3 years, because uh, once the crop is raised, plants take a lot of time, like 3 to 5 years, and they would be on the rotation basis. So 5 years you have this sapling growing on, and maybe that would be used for, as a product for building your chairs or something. And that time when you cut the plant, you're planting more. So it's going on rotation basis. But what is happening to the farm is because it's having a tree for those 5 years, it has a lot of organic content in it, and that would help to build up the rivers or the water flow in the rivers. So that's the plan of action that they took up. So it was in 2019, so I was doing my internship. So when I made a math, it was like, okay, let me contribute 10 trees every month. That's going to be 10% of my salary. I mean, that was too low back then. So it's like I made a math like, okay, next 12 years, if I donate 10 trees every month, it's going to be so many trees. So like around 600 trees. I was very excited and happy about just looking at the math. And then I started. And then also there was an option to become a fundraiser. So when I started raising funds, when I informed everyone around me, nobody responded. So I thought maybe this is not the way to ask. So I went around and I used to conduct workshops for my juniors and seeking them for, you need not pay me, but you can donate some saplings and get in. And I was teaching basic things like SketchUp and all, but that was good to begin for me. And then I used to put like my target as 10,000 something, and it never practically reached. So from next time, I was, very conscious of that. I was putting a target of 100, 200 and trying to reach that. During my last birthday last year, like I had a target of 260 trees, and a lot of people donated as a birthday gift, and it went around to 350 trees. So I was very happy about that progress. And so far in the last 5 years, I think I could donate and also raise funds for 670 saplings. So I'm really happy about that. And in the future, I would like to make it like, what do you say, that exponential growth. I wanted to do that so that it multiplies bigger and bigger. I think that's the idea also of Kaveri Calling, is to multiply that, because 3 years it will take time to build the trust with people and understand how the market is, and also set up markets, because this is all working because every place these volunteers are traveling, they would also have farmer produce organization, FPOs. So to establish FPOs is another thing. So you're building something, and you're making sure that it's sustainable on a long run. And farmer gets incentives if he's maintaining that plant, if he's not cutting, if he's taking care, to make sure that he's taking care. Uh, they're giving incentives so that the plants are survived on long term. So I think that was the plan of action, and they have around 13 saplings that are majorly uh, planted around these regions. Some would need like less care in terms of like, maybe a 3-year crop. Some would be like 15-year crop. It would also, maybe it has like red sandalwood and other things which are, on an expensive note, but that could generate a lot of income for the farmer on a long run. And it's also, you have tree cover, so that's perfect balance for both. uh, and
So, sorry, Aditi, you have a question, and then I have.
Yeah, yeah. So my question is more around the transparency. Like, so when you donate and you
mhm,
know, putting in money into a large program, that money could
mhm,
go you need to know where that money is going, right?
mhm,
So do they
mhm.
have some sort of report up until recently, like 2024? Because I read a few articles about possible scams around the,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's great to know about the program and how the science and behind how they plan to revitalize it, the
Mhm, mhm.
observations between, the past and the future and everything. But when you, yeah, when you're putting money into it, I'm sure it's for a good cause. But I was just curious about the transparency aspect of it.
So I think they used to keep updating me through the emails, like so
Oh,
many
I
saplings have been planted each year. So
see.
because I donated, they used to send me like
Oh, okay.
each quarterly updates on how many plants were planted and what action did they do and all.
Mhm.
So only if you go on ground and check, maybe you'll have right proof. But this
Right.
is the update from their side. And
Oh, okay.
uh, this moment, it started actually in 2004, because
Mhm.
it started as Project Green Hands. And
Oh, I see.
now, yeah, if you look at Project Green Hands, like you see how farmers are actually like, b- because Kaveri calling is happening, because it has that enough evidence for the last 15, 20 years that, this model could be successful. That's why they scaled up into Kaveri calling. And yeah, that that was my
Got it.
opinion.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Actually, I was just reading an article about like um environmentalists and some charities, rights groups are uh advising like Leonardo DiCaprio, who is kind of funding Kaveri calling as well in some
Mm-hmm.
way, or supporting Kaveri. They're advising him to stop because um it's not very scientific. That's what
Mm-hmm.
they say. Like the tree planting is not very scientific, and monoculture um tree plantation is happening. So um like there's some controversy around that, and uh they're saying that it could kill um or it could harm endangered waterways or
Or
species,
like the existing biodiversity, like it could like
biodiversity.
Yeah, I
Mm.
had
mess the
that same
balance.
question about the monoculture part. Like, is it like, are they creating a biodiversity, or is it just like planting one crop? I mean, I
It,
don't know
it,
if you know about
it
that.
must not be one crop, but like from Naveen, what you said, it seems like they're cropping a lot of different types of trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a scientific method behind it? Like, is there some science behind which tree to plant where, and uh like what
Uh,
is kind of um suitable to which soil basically,
yeah.
which these helps which soil basically, yeah.
So I don't have a direct answer for this, but I did not read the complete book. It was too long. But during my process, I had interacted with some experts who were part of this in the last 15, 20 years, like from the time it started. So
Right.
there was one person who was like expert in this, in the sense like he had sound knowledge about when the movement started and how it actually took up. He was a volunteer there. Based on his take and experience, what I understood is, uh, they said this verbally, but I don't have it written anywhere. But they were in consultation with experts uh, that were following they were closely following. Based on that, they did it. If you ask me for direct scientific proof, maybe Project Green Hand's success is the reason that this movement has sprouted well. Uh, I think there are enough documentations that are published online how uh, Project Green and success help farmers, and how the crop is done and how it is sold. Maybe I could share some links for that. But I know like when Kaveri Calling started, Rally for River started, there was a lot of protest on other sides. One scientist, it was published on Down to Earth, said, how can a missed call bring up a river? But today, a government support has actually, changed the equation in terms of, okay, now people supported for the movement. I'll also, government of India allocated Niti Aayog to do a proper survey, whether if this is the right way to do about. And I think they did that, and then Jal Shakti must have allocated these funds. But I don't have a direct answer because I work with the organization, and I've seen like a lot of young people like me. I was there at the foundation for around 9 months, and I spoke to volunteers who were part of this team. There was one officer who was uh, a IAS officer in the past, is now currently the project manager for this movement.
Okay.
And uh, these people are very simple, down to earth. And when I speak to them, I don't feel like they're, doing such a big movement as well. So in those terms, I felt like, I had that trust, and that's why I've been doing this. So yeah, there could be the other side of it, but I'm completely not aware of it. And I believe like whenever there is something optimistic, there has to be negative force, strong negative force. So,
Yeah.
but so far, yeah, but so far, I think I see the optimistic side of it and how things are moving. But yeah, your
Yeah.
questions are valid, and uh, I don't have right answer for them. Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's absolutely fine. I think it's really helpful that you have like an inside view on this because we've all been in scenarios where we have experienced something, we've spoken to people, but we don't have written evidence or like to say that this is a trustworthy movement or an organization. We just believe in a cause and we go for it and
Yeah.
advocate it. So I think what you're doing is really commendable.
Yeah,
Nithya
I
had
would like to say like great, Naveen. I'm also very what do you say, motivated to donate and check it out at least and understand and maybe spread awareness. But I guess yeah, like in terms of these type of organizations, it's great to look at reports. So uh, I can do my research and maybe we can all do our researches to prove, like how let's say Kaveri Calling is actually helping through reports and stuff. Because yeah, it is quite challenging to, let's say, I was looking at their website, so it says like you want to donate, you know, if you want to plant 100 trees, you should donate like $60, or there's like
60 cents.
yeah, that's for one tree, but like for 100 trees,
Yeah.
it's like $60, and
Yeah. Yeah.
like
It's like
so if
60,
if
yeah.
someone wants to donate like I don't know 10,000 trees, it's $6,000. So for that person, of course, like that proof would be obviously very helpful, and there would be proof also which we
Yeah.
need to maybe research. So yeah, thanks for sharing this. But
Yeah.
go ahead, Nithya.
Yeah, I didn't have a question. I just thought, just a quick thought, I might be wrong, but I thought it was like very smart to start off as like agroforestry, because then it's like a hook to get the government invested on this, because it's like profitable, because they're like planting these trees that like help like with revenue, like for example sandalwoods were like very important, so like just something like some trees are probably like better than no trees along these rivers. So I think it was really smart, and I think it's really good that you also have like these other people who kind of question it, because it might be like a segue for them to actually like focus on the biodiversity of that particular part that the river flows through, and maybe that's what they move their focus to like, which is like actually just planting trees that help with the soil, and like which makes sense for that particular soil type. But they probably almost probably doing that. And then I've actually thought of this for a long time, but I'm glad like Kruti brought it up with like Leonardo DiCaprio like funding this, because I think even with India especially, and like the kind of like population that India has, we are very influenced by like, you know, big movie actors. Like when Shah Rukh Khan does like a haircut for one of his movies, then you have like a bunch of people just doing the same haircut. So I feel like these big movie stars and like big people who have like a big fan following have a massive like responsibility, and it might make sense for them to like even make movies or like support these. So like it's a big way to like kind of influence the crowd, and to like kind of like get them like to know that okay, this is what's happening, this is what's going on in the world, and this is what's like important. So like even if it's not something that they care about, like if they just make a movie or like if they just like donate to this organization, they'll be like, oh, this person's doing this, or Rajnikant is doing this, so I need to like kind of like help and like support it. So I feel like these big people have like a role to play in like you know, influencing the masses. I don't know, just a quick thought.
No, for
Yeah,
sure. I think,
Sadhguru.
go ahead,
But
Dhruv.
Yeah, yeah,
I was just saying, Sadhguru has a big impact as well.
He
Like he's
does.
almost a celebrity in
yeah,
India, I think. So I think, yeah, I've
Yeah.
also read like the Karnataka government also had filed like some lawsuits against this over the
yeah,
legality of the fundraising
Mm-hmm.
practices of Isha Foundation. So I guess like in report, or I don't know, some kind of impact assessment, environmental impact assessment
Yeah.
also would be much more transparent and would help organizations make a better decision to like fund.
It was very interesting, though. Thanks, Naveen, for sharing all of
yeah,
these
Mm-hmm.
facts and your experience, because I think it helps, if not anything else, it helps arise certain ideas around how you can go about
Mm-hmm.
solving a big, large problem, what actually attracts the attention of the government or moves the public. Just understanding those things helps definitely.
yeah.
So one question I had was, have all of you, I know Naveen shared his experience growing up with water crisis, but have any of you had a personal experience associated with, you know, a water crisis situation?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, Nithya, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dhruv.
No. I think I don't have a personal experience, but I know while doing my research in architecture, I came across this architect Alejandro Aravina. He had he had prevented a disaster, uh, like sort of flood risk disaster in a city called Villa Verde in South America. It's not even a city, I think it's a town. And how he did that was through agroforestry. So when Naveen was talking about this, that reminded me of that example. And he's like, he has a TED talk on that, on how like the disaster completely changed over the years, and now the community lives much better in harmony with nature. So it's a good example. I can share that article with everyone. So yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, I worked on this project in it was targeted to Ahmedabad, but it was on green cities and greening cities with, you know, strategies for water percolation, etc., because of how the future is projected to be either in two extremes, either like a drought kind of a situation or like a flood situation. So how to make our way around these climate disasters, it's interesting.
There's a term for it. It's called nature-based solutions.
Yes.
So yeah, those are basically right now the research is like I was trying to do this sort of a research for my company. The research is lacking like a quantification of how much
Mm.
the nature-based solution can help, let's say, a project or a city. So, I mean, there's still research going in that, but there's no tool or there's no sort of way for us to gauge it. If we want to say that, okay, let's propose a urban park or forest in this area. So,
Right.
yeah,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Just
Go ahead.
to answer your question, Aditi, I don't think I have directly experienced water shortage in Mumbai. when I was staying in Mumbai, it was um usually like just during the rainy season, maybe it would be cut for like 3 hours, 4 hours. So nothing major, nothing major that we couldn't handle. We used to literally just fill a bucket or two and it would be fine. Like we would get through the 3 or 4 hours. But what is interesting is that we lived on one side of the road and my maid lives on the other side of the highway. And she literally gets water only in the mornings at like uh from from 6 to say 8 o'clock, and that's it. That's their entire supply of water, and there's such a class difference even across like just the highways that it's really appalling to see. um and because I feel like that I haven't experienced water shortage, and there are no rivers uh much in Mumbai except for that Mithi river, which is almost a nala now. And I haven't really, I mean, I don't have fond memories with it or anything, so I'm not attached to it. I, even in college, even in university, when I was doing a project um, for water conservation, I was struggling to see a point in conserving water in the UK, which is like which gets rainfall, and it doesn't. I mean, I kept feeling like, what am I doing? What impact do I have if I save water here? How is it going to impact a drought in India or somewhere else? And I really struggled with that for that project. And I don't have much, I mean, don't take many efforts to conserve water. I take a bucket bath maybe once in a while, but yes.
No, the point you raised about the class difference is so important because
Yeah.
climate disasters affect people so in such varied manners. And usually, the ones who cannot afford a better life are the ones who are the most affected, which really
Mhm.
bothers me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And what helped me uh, to get into the mindset of water conservation was that it's we're saving for the future, because water doesn't regenerate as fast as we are using it right now. It's almost like we're saving for the future. It's not about you saving because some village in Africa or India isn't getting water. It's everyone saving for the future. Uh, and also, since there are emissions related to pumping water and transporting water, it affects climate change, and hence, like, there's a butterfly effect on drought and famines and stuff. So maybe, yeah, that might help, like the psychology behind saving water, I guess.
Nithya, you
I
had
have
something?
like a Yeah, so Bangalore, I'm from Bangalore, and Bangalore faces crazy water crisis every summer. And it used to what's interesting is I love that Naveen said Bangalore used to be a garden city, because at one point Bangalore did have over like around 1,000. I don't know if it was 997 to be exact, 997 to like 1,000 artificial and like man-made and like natural lakes and all of these tanks and stuff. And right now, I think there are only like 17 functional lakes or like tanks.
Wow.
And so like, and it had like so Bangalore like geographically is on a plateau, and it takes like I mean, it takes like its water source is the Kaveri River, which is also drying up, and there's like water, like, all of these like crises and conflict between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and stuff. So when I first moved in 2001, we had the same borewell system, because we have to go down for like our source is either Kaveri or the groundwater. And at home we had we had a borewell which was like about 200 feet deep, and we used to get water at like 100 feet itself, the groundwater source. And right now in 2024, people have to dig about like 1,200 feet down, and sometimes they don't even get water at that depth. And so we clearly do not have like borewell water, and like there's like a drought-like condition every summer because of like this rapid urbanization, because everybody is coming to Bangalore. Like during summers, like these like very like small lake beds kind of like evaporated, and people started like um building on these lake beds, which I'm sure like there's a lot of news that just like keeps coming in, and like hear a lot about Bangalore just for this. And then that results in like poor like stormwater and like drainage systems, and then like a lot of these places got flooded, which was really which was really scary. And they do say that I think Bangalore is going to run out of water, like potable water, in 2030 or something like that. I'm not sure. I have to like fact check, but it's like coming really soon. And like I am very far away from it now, but like my folks back in Bangalore, like now they say that it's like people have to get water from like water tanks, and these tanks are extremely expensive now because like there's a dearth of water. And so it's like 700 rupees, it's like 700 rupees to fill up your like tanks like every
Wow.
day.
Uh,
And what is sad is that people who are not able to afford it, it's
yeah.
very, very expensive for them, and it's so sad. And so like one of the things that the government is like asking, like pleading people to do, is rainwater harvest, because when it does, like when Bangalore does get rain, it's pretty bountiful. But the problem is that it's like concrete city now. It's not like very as green and like as cool as it used to be. It has like it had like temperatures in summer close to like what Delhi has, which is not very common in Bangalore. So it was like the whole city was parched, and like there's a lot of like surface like runoff, and then there are so many like industries in Bangalore now that like pollute what is already potable. So there's a massive water crisis, and like there's been a lot of like protests and stuff about like what is the government doing. And I think like that's a very good question. I hope the city does something soon, but I feel like even the people have like a big part to play in it, with like how they're conserving water. There are so many things where like different like residential, you can have like a common rainwater harvesting tank that like residences can like together invest in. We have a rainwater harvesting tank already at home, because like once we started realizing that there was like the groundwater is going down, um, it kind of like we got a little scared, and then we already started like a rainwater harvesting system. But I think what's really scary is the main source was groundwater, because we had so many lakes and so many like natural like water conservation. So that's the problem though. So I think like the biggest crisis is to like save groundwater, like bring it back to like at least a decent level. And so yeah, that's my water crisis story with no solution at the moment.
I
To
read that there is one person who's kind of working towards rehabilitating
Mhm.
these lakes. A mechanical engineer, I'm not sure about his name, but
Yes,
uses some technology
yeah,
from the Chola dynasty to like interconnect
correct.
all the water sources.
Yeah, there is a video that I can share regarding that. And I think it's also with this other something biome architecture. I think
yeah,
like they're like an
they're working
architecture
on it.
firm in, yes. So they also employ like this. I think it was from the Chola dynasty itself. And like it's about like these wells that store water, but also like replenish the groundwater at the same time. So that's something that they're doing at the small level, which is really nice. And I think that should like spread a lot more.
I just wanted to kind of put some numbers out there. I was just looking at this. So it says that basically an average shower head uses 12 liters of water per minute. And so I take a bucket bath, and I need
Mhm.
like, because I'm small, maybe half a bucket of water, which is 7 liters. and versus like 9 to 12 liters per minute in a shower. So I think this that's the biggest and easiest thing that you could do is take a bucket bath to save water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I think Atiti must be relating this to conspiracy, where the user starts like, he's been taking like not to make any controversy out of this, but he starts taking this bucket water and realizes that nothing has changed, and he actually goes back and does this calculation on the water resources that are used in each food product that you eat, and he feels that
Mm.
if you take the non-vegetarian, there is a graph like, which actually to produce any crop, it takes so much. And to feed that crop to animal, it takes so much water. And he has this graph. I think I'm not sure how true that
Yeah.
is and
No,
how
no,
evidential
that's
No,
that
it's
is. But
that's very
Mm-hmm.
true. I think
yeah,
yeah, I missed that point that, if you change your diet as well,
yeah.
you can save a lot.
uh,
Yeah.
I mean,
from
that's
that
what
point,
people
I
say that
turned
like,
vegetarian.
yeah, and that's what people say that, oh, soy is like such a big contributor to water shortage, like, but then people don't realize that to feed livestock, you need soy. So most of that soy
Mm-hmm.
is actually produced for livestock, and very little of it is for us. But yeah, that's a great point. I think water is such an important resource that way.
To add one last point to Nitya's discussion, she was explaining about water crisis. So I think I personally experienced it. I used to stay in uh, a financial district very close by that, and development was at a rapid pace. So apparently, there used to be a lake that got completely dried near that region that I used to stay, and people need some water supply because the area was growing very fast. Uh, so they used to supply water to all the sources from that lake. They used to filter that water and take. So that lake eventually got more dry, and that entire region had that water crisis in 2018 or 19. And then we had to call water tankers. The water quality is not so good, and the water tanker price is like 1600. And the owner is like, it's on you guys now. I'm not going to pay anything. And there was no rainwater harvesting system that was in place. So early morning, you wake up to realize that there is no water. You have to attend nature's call, but you don't have water. So there were
Yeah.
situations that I stole water from my neighbor's house.
Oh my
So,
God.
so
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that was a crisis. I used to stay in hostel all the time, so it was not my house, but so it was collective group of friends, like around 10 people staying in the same apartment. But this was a real situation that I faced. And you have to call
Mm-hmm.
water tanker, and 2 3 days they don't respond. They say that there is no water. So I think I was in that old. Then in all my architectural projects now that I do, I propose a rainwater
Mm-hmm.
harvesting pit,
Ah,
and I
that's
ask
great.
them not to concretize the structure, rather leave your
Mm-hmm.
landscape percolated so that the groundwater can sink in. Most of the
Mm-hmm.
time they resist is because of the
Cost.
cost. Yeah,
Mm.
I think for Indian context, it's like only the best bet that you can do on sustainability is how do you reduce the cost. So I think that brings up to the solution where how do you actually focus on cost reduction rather than pushing this to people, and automatically I think they will if government gives incentives and then also people also push themselves a little, I think that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also, yeah, go ahead. Aditi. I just had a
No, I
small
was
question.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
I was just going to quickly add on to what Nithya and Naveen were talking about with Bangalore's water crisis and Naveen's point about, sustainability and cost. Um, when I watched this podcast by Nikhil Kamath on climate change, Sunita Narayan was part of it, and she speaks a
Mm-hmm.
lot about the water crisis situation in Bangalore. So if anyone's interested, you can check out that podcast too. And she also has an article about it where she refers to the solution being something that links cost with sustainability, as in when the cost is low it becomes naturally becomes more sustainable. And the way she explores that is by identifying the flaws in the system currently, both the drainage and sewage system as well as the water pipelines that lead up to each house in the city, and the losses that how inefficient it is right now, the losses associated with that system, and how these issues are making it expensive. So if you tackle these issues, make it cheaper but also make it sustainable, and how that can be a solution that is viable and used by all. So it's pretty interesting. I just thought I'd plug that in. Go ahead,
So
Dhruv.
can you repeat that? Like, do you change the municipal sewage system in order to make it more sustainable?
I am yet to dive deep and read about it, but she talks about the way she phrases it, and I can rephrase it from the article. She says city managers have invested in a system that is both capital and resource intensive, and how this leads to unsustainable water supply and inadequate sewage management. And then it's exacerbated by climate change as well. But she talks about the fact that the distance from where the water is sourced to where it's being transported is very large and inefficient, and therefore because of that there's a lot of water leakage that happens, which could be avoided potentially. And so bunch of these points that she points the reader to, wherein the system itself is currently not the best and can be improved, and it would become like a two-sided solution to both cost and sustainability.
Yeah.
The thing is, with cost, I feel like, so when I was doing my architecture practice, I worked on this holiday home for a client in Lonavala. And we proposed that, you should have rainwater harvesting in your bungalow. It was a second home. So we still were like, it doesn't harm you, right? It will future proof your whatever second home. And whenever if some other lockdown like COVID hits, then if this becomes your first home, it will kind of future proof that basically you against a water crisis. So, but he was like, "Oh, the cost is too much," and like the council of that particular area, it was in Amber Valley, so that council of that area gives water for free, so we don't need it and all that. And then he builds a retaining wall, like because it was a contoured slope, so the policies didn't really uh allow for a stepped this for a stepped building. So he raises the whole site plot, and he built a retaining wall around the site, which cost him 1 crore rupees just to get a view of the lake. Okay, so if he can spend for that, then I feel like this was a cop out, like a complete cop out, that he's not building for, I mean, he's not just including a rainwater harvesting system. So I'm not sure how much cost affects. It's just that people don't feel close to the cause, and they don't want to,
Not aware about the
yeah.
harms that they could face. Yeah. I feel like water conservation is a big thing when it comes to also like the health of people. Like, I know that we wouldn't select like an apartment that's close to a water body for that reason, and multiple things like that. So, and that also destroys like the livelihood of people who depend on that water body because it's not healthy to consume. So, yeah, that's one struggle which I thought I'd raise in terms of the health point.
Yeah. I was just thinking, instead of like subsidizing such things, maybe if we make policies such that, like in Bangalore now, it's happening because you guys are faced with a water crisis. Uh, of rainwater harvesting system need to be included. Uh, Maybe there should be like a policy throughout, like across everywhere, basically, that you should have a system to harvest rainwater, and that's just included in the cost of building. If you want to build a house, this is a cost that you have to incur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's really difficult to get like these policies passed sometimes, though. That's the only problem. I mean,
And
people
Yeah.
have
and
so many good
some
solutions.
and sometimes it backfires. For example, in Karnataka now, they had a policy where in the effort to like save electricity, they said that if you keep your monthly electricity consumption to under 500 kilowatt hour or something like that, then we waive off your bill. You don't have any bill. And a lot of people, it's good because they conserved it, and a lot of people did not have a need to like they didn't have to pay it. And then after that, the government ran a little low because they were giving all supplying power to like like cities like Bangalore, which is already like overpopulated, and so and like it has like the maximum consumption. So sometimes it like kind of like throws it off balance because um you do like the government does need money to get other things done
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
again
was
cost related,
so
right?
there's
The
a
policy was related to a subsidy.
that's
Yeah, if it's just a
that's right.
mandated rule, which I get
Mm-hmm.
it's a little difficult to pass, and I know
Mm-hmm.
it will get a lot of
But it
backlash
goes along.
also. Yeah, but
I
it's
have
required
a
and
solution for that. I mean, not a solution, but something that I
Mm-hmm.
read in a course that I was doing. So I was doing this course called ESG and climate change. And what I read
Ah.
in that course is that there are a lot of international banks and just in general banks trying to invest like in ESG and also like in climate insurance. So what governments would do is probably apply for grants to get this funding and try and get like more people to invest in climate insurance. Let's say, organizations that have multiple lands across an area. Because what that helps is that you're getting a private investor to invest in a land, and
Mm-hmm.
insurance is something that in case of a climate disaster you can quickly get that money. So insurance
That's
is a
true.
good way to actually also build that level of awareness in people that okay, in order to reduce the cost of the insurance we also need to, let's say, build a rainwater harvesting tank or something like that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a good thing that I read in that course.
yeah,
That's cool.
like
One
linking future savings to present savings.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
one interesting thing that I came across in the process was I met someone called Kalpana Ramesh. So she runs a project called the Rainwater Harvesting, or I shared the link on the chat. So what she did is there were a couple of step wells, the forgotten step wells of Telangana. There's one big documentation that was going on, and she was part of that. And in that, uh, so the rainwater project. So part of it is she developed an organization where they would consult architects and they would provide rainwater solutions. And apart from that was she restored a step well. It's called Bansilal step well. If you look at that in the past, it was just like a dump yard. Nobody know there was such a deep well there. Like it was 50 feet deep. Nobody knew there was a well there. Part of their team was to discover all this. So she knew that, and then they transform the space. So if I can share the image, uh, it's yeah. So yeah, this is the stepwell. It was built in 17th century. The state was even bad than this. Whatever you see here, it was filled up to the top, and it was used as a dump yard. Actually, this could store up to like a lot of lakhs of liters of water. So this is built around, sorry, is uh, yeah, 2000 tons of waste was collected from this. It was a six-level step well, and they
Yeah.
had like it could store like so many liters of water every year. And she had to push the project. Like she took some support from government, but she went through a lot of things. I mean, she's very active. She reaches out to government and make sure things are falling in place. She's in contact with all the people, all the important people. So I think that network was very important for the kind of change she had made, and she had to bring in a lot of investors. And yeah, this was like the change that the Stepwell is now. It's completely restored.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I think in one of our next sessions, we could probably look at all these ancient methods to, either cool your space the way I remember Naveen mentioning Laurie Baker in one of our previous sessions. So how buildings were constructed and were more climate appropriate, or even like for water conservation. I'm really curious about,
Oh,
ideas and concepts around these conservation methods.
so this
Mm.
well can store 35 lakh liters of rainwater. So I think there were solutions in the past, like where if you have a city, like it can store so much water. So yeah, I think that's a good thing that we can discuss about all these
Yeah,
strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, I felt like sharing this.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I think we had a good episode.
Yeah.
We had a good session. Would you like to close, Aditi? Say something.
The
Um,
last question, maybe the last one that we
oh,
wrote.
yes. We
Yeah.
can close
Sorry.
by maybe taking personal pledges on water conservation. Everyone want to take up something
I
or
like
share
that.
something you've been doing?
Um, for me. So for me, I think um bucket bath is one thing that I have been doing, but I really struggle to take a bucket bath when I want to wash my hair. So I think I will try that. Yeah, because that's not possible for me right now. So I will try that for a few um times at least.
Yeah.
Dhruv, you
For
want
me,
to?
I think, yeah, for me, I think just trying to be more plant-based. That's already a pledge that I've taken, but now that I know more about the water issue, I think it strengthens that pledge in some ways. So that is one pledge, and the other one would be like I think I've been uh, I've been using like the dishwasher quite a lot. So I'll try to be much more mindful about that. Like, how do I reduce, uh, maybe just how do I use it more efficiently? So
Yeah, but I think you had only told me that the dishwasher, and even in my
Uses more
research,
water.
yeah, it's more efficient than
Yeah,
yeah,
hand washing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, basically.
Nithya, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. It's the same thing with the dishwasher where I just read somewhere. I've been wanting to do more research about whether it actually saves so much water, but I have made it a point where like I load it up until like I actually have to wash it. And I think Dhruv shared the Commons app, and that has like that has really like educated me in so many different ways. So I took the pledge of saving water and saving electricity while doing laundry, where I do laundry with like cold washes, but also only when I have to like absolutely fill it to the brim. And that way, like you're running lesser cycles. And I also like if I have to like do white separately or something, I keep collecting it until like there's like a good lot and I just throw it in with towels or something. And I recently bought a dryer. This is not related to water crisis, but I recently bought like this dryer rack, like the good old Indian way, where I'm not using the dryer anymore, and then I'm just like taking all of the clothes out, and then because Austin gets like so much sun, and like within like 2 or 3 hours it's almost like 80% dry, so like I've been using the dryer rack instead.
I want
um
to do that. That's a
one
great.
Yeah, it is really, and it's really nice. Like it also like kind of sanitizes it because like
Mm.
of the sunlight killing all the germs and stuff. One thing that I have been wanting to be more mindful of is like the showers. I've been trying to take like 5 to 10 minute showers, but yeah, obviously like with long hair, and when you're on like hair wash days, I've been a little bad about it and I want to be better. But yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
I like the point about the drying rack because it will also increase the
Hmm.
longevity of our clothes, I feel like. And even
Very true.
fewer cycles of wash also helps with, and then therefore it ties into the
Mhm.
whole textile waste issue.
Yeah.
There are also,
Yes.
The water used in producing the
right,
clothes.
Mm-hmm.
that too,
And
right,
also electricity
Yes.
is being saved, so you
exactly.
save off on like so much
Yes.
of your bills,
Yeah.
financial
Yeah.
incentive.
Yeah. For me, the challenge with water has been I don't know if you experience this, it didn't happen much in India, but here, when I turn on the hot water, it takes a while
Mm-hmm.
for the hot water to come. So
Yeah.
there's water that's going away in the start,
Very
right?
true.
I'm trying to figure out a way to maybe keep a bucket and then use that for my plants. Although I don't need that much water for my plants. So maybe then for certain hand washed dishes, I could use it. But that's something I'm trying to
Right.
work around, and that's a pledge I'd like to take.
Yeah.
That's a very
That
good
kind
point.
of gets solved because in bucket baths, because you can regulate the
Yes,
temperature
true.
beforehand, and that was a huge advantage for me here in Mumbai. It didn't
Mm.
really happen because like within like 10 seconds I could get hot water in a shower. So
Yeah.
So for me, I think I've made changes through my diet. So shifting from non-vegetarian to vegetarian. I know people laugh at me. Like last 1 week, I was at my relative's place. All they cook is non-veg. They almost forgot one day that there is a vegetarian guy in the family, and they forgot to cook. So that's very challenging. People laugh at me, and that's why whenever Dhruv made this group, I felt like, okay, it makes sense because now whatever I speak, there's someone to think, okay, this makes sense. But yeah, no. Yesterday, my friend was like, Naveen, you should eat non-veg. Why did you stop?
Yeah.
So,
And when you're vegan, they're just like, what is this? Coming to India, you can't be like this. You can't have such big demands and blah blah blah.
Oh my God, for a Rajasthani to not have ghee, it's such a big thing.
Oh,
right. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
so
insane.
I think that's something, but at the
yeah.
same time, I would suggest like one small thing. What happened was I ignored my food very badly, the nutrition part in the last 2 months, and it has affected me a lot. Uh, Maybe if you're switching your diet, be careful with what you're substituting that with, because I went to the doctor and did all the blood
Mhm.
tests to realize that my vitamin B12 is so low. So maybe I have to substitute
Yeah.
the right things and do the
So
smooth transition.
just as a
Right.
thing for whoever's watching, if you're trying to be more plant-based, vitamin D and vitamin D3, let's say, and B12, those two are absolute essentials because what happens is like people, like you get it through animal produce who are given through like injections basically. So instead of taking it through an animal,
Mm-hmm.
just directly take it. So
And the other thing is, I take cold showers, so my showers are really quick. So,
That's a good
Yeah,
point. I should
that's
consider.
nice.
Yeah,
yeah. So
with
yeah.
summer.
Maybe other things is in terms of my farm, like in the farm, we are also trying to shift to drip irrigation after a long struggle. And my father has also planted some 100 saplings in the uh, like the mango and coconut trees. So hopefully a lot of them survive. So we're making some smooth transition towards agroforestry. I think that's my plan in the future is as I stay and work anywhere, is like farmland, where is it going for the next generation? Is like, could I actually make it a smooth transition towards agroforestry and make a difference?
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you,
It was such a
everyone.
great session. Thanks,
Thanks,
Naveen.
Naveen. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. I think this has been a great session for me. I